There we go.
You're the tech guy.
No, we are live. Welcome, everyone.
Hey, good morning if you're on the East Coast.
I think it's morning for everybody.
True.
It doesn't matter what coast.
That's true.
Well,
It's
they're
almost noon.
in Africa, but
It's
or
almost
Australia. But if they're in the U.S., it's morning.
That's true. That's true.
Good.
I have a rhetorical question.
We don't even have. Where's our coffee?
I have my.
How are we gonna have? See that? You see?
Okay, so what I'll do is while you're talking, I'll make it. I'll make you some.
Anyway, welcome. I am again.
Wait, my rhetorical question. Sorry, because I don't want to forget it. Why is it so cold in Florida?
It is.
It's
I know.
freezing.
I know it, but I feel
It's
funny
58 degrees right now.
about complaining because of the rest of the world is going through hell right now,
Yeah.
and we're complaining because of 50-degree weather.
However, it is legitimate that we're cold because even the people from up north say it's cold, and they're in colder weather, or technically colder weather, but I think it's because here the climate is so humid. So when you add cold air to humidity, it turns into like icy type of air. So it's even colder than if you were in a drier climate and had cold air.
Okay, that sounds.
This is my theory. I don't know.
That sounds plausible. That is not the topic of today. Just so you all know, is
mentioning that's why we're both
science
we're both rocking and rubbing our legs.
the science of the climate. First of all, I just want to give us props.
Sorry.
I want to give us props for being here. This is what happens when you're married to someone with ADD. This is what happens. I want to give us props for showing up.
Yes.
This is day three consecutively.
Yay!
So great job.
Yes.
And today we're going to be talking about beliefs. I was in the sauna this morning, and I was just thinking about why I do what I do, or why we do what we do.
Why you do what you do?
The reason is because I believe that it's what I should do. But no, actually, that's not true, because even some of the actions that I do, it goes against some of my beliefs. So
Okay.
what's interesting is beliefs are all made up. Beliefs are just handed to us. But I have conflicting beliefs. So for instance, I'll give you a perfect example. When I was young, I developed a belief that if I didn't do it, it wouldn't get done.
Okay.
And the reason is because I had older brothers, and the older brothers that I won't call out their anyone's name, but they used to always make empty promises. It's like, oh, we're going to do this, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to buy you this, and they were like 15 years older, and it never would happen. And so I just remember always thinking, well, if anything is going to happen, I have to do it because no one else is going to follow through. Now, my dad always followed through with what he said. But even my mom, I remember my mom used to say all the time, you remember the big satellites? This was before DirecTV. The DirecTV were the little satellites. These were like the huge ones, like you put in the front yard.
Dishes.
Yeah, the big dishes. Like you had to dig up, and put this big pole. You had this big, and we lived in the country in Alabama, right? So we didn't have cable. And my mom loved movies. She used to go to the hairdresser and get these bootleg movies all the time. But
Another thing your mom and I have in common.
Oh, bootleg and stuff?
Buying bootleg movies.
Buying bootleg. Oh, yeah, that's right. You have tons of them.
You used to make fun of me for that.
Yeah, you all are very alike. It's kind of actually scary. But my mom used to say all the time, we're going to get a satellite dish. We're going to get a satellite dish. When they first came out. And they were very, they were expensive. They were like $2,500 or something crazy. Yeah, no, they were
Wow.
They were a lot of money.
That's a lot back then.
And I remember she always used to say it, and then it was for years. And And finally, I'm like, Mom, we're not getting it. Like, we don't have a plan to get it. Like, it's not happening. Why do you keep saying we're going to get a satellite dish when it's not going to happen? So, and she used to get mad at me when I, used to tell her stuff like that. So I decided that I was going to save up money. I remember I was a freshman in college, and I had a scholarship. So, a lot of my stuff was paid for, and I did work study, and then I had another job, right? And so I added up how much I was making, how long it would take me to save up the amount of money to get the satellite dish. And I wanted to get it by Mother's Day, but I was a little bit short, like from the time standpoint. So I went to my dad. I said, Dad, if I save up, whatever, $2,000, will you give me the $300 to get the satellite dish? So he was like, oh man, if you get $2,000, of course I'll give you $300. So I was like, all right, cool. It took me about 2 years to save it up, right? And so my dad had forgot all about it. And so then right before Mother's Day, I said, hey, you got that $300. He's like, for what? I said, for the satellite dish. He's like, you have the rest of it? I was like, yeah, I've been saving up all this time. So I got it for Mother's Day for my mom, and it was like a big, huge thing. Like, you know what I mean? She came out, and we were able.
It was like a car, like you bought her.
Yeah. It was. We were able to get it installed, the whole thing, and so I was able to actually make this happen, like a dream of my mom's that that she didn't have a plan for. But the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I got so much love from that, and it just instilled in me that if I want something to happen, whether it's for myself or someone else, I have to do it because it got linked. Right. So now I'm in a position where it stresses me to feel like I have to be responsible for everything. And now my belief is not even that. My belief is that I don't have to make everything happen. We have a team. Ultimately, I believe that, I'm not in control. I feel like God is in control. I feel like God is driving the car. I'm just showing up and getting in the driver's seat, and then I'm not in control. But a lot of my challenges with having to put that stress on me to make things happen, I think comes from a lot of those childhood beliefs.
Yeah.
So when we have things that we do, right? Like you have beliefs. You feel that the only time that you can drink water is it has to be sparkling water, because your belief is that all other water is dirty and from fish water because of your traumatic experience.
Yeah.
So basically what happened is when she, or do you want to tell it?
I'll tell it. So when I was younger, I lived in Greece for many years. That's most of my childhood years were spent in Greece. And in Europe, especially at that time, anything that was cold was refrigerated, but they didn't add ice to it. Why? I have no idea. I was too young to care. So we went, my family and I, we went out to a restaurant, and this was during the summertime. It was really hot, and it was outside, and us coming from America, we were used to ice in drinks. So my mom asked the waiter for some ice for our water. So he says in Greek, the only ice we have is for the fish. So my mom goes, okay, that's fine. She didn't care what the ice was being used for. She just wanted ice in our drinks to make them colder. So he brings over the glasses with the water and the ice, and we drink them. And as soon as we drank them, we quickly realized that the water and the ice were fishy, like a really pungent, fresh, fishy smell. I could just it was taking me back. But it was a traumatic experience. And what happened was the ice was taken from, I guess, the trough that they had the fish laying on. Mm-hmm. And so that was the only ice they had. And they took it from the trough, but everything, once you put fish on anything, that's it. Mm-hmm. the aroma of the fish
Right.
permeates everything.
Right.
So we basically drank fishy water. And so since that day, I think I was like 7, since that day on, every time I pick up a glass and drink water out of a glass, I can literally smell, taste fish.
Yeah.
And so the only way to combat that and to drink water was to make it not water.
Right, like sparkling water or add
something to
flavor
it.
or something like that.
So I used to drink a lot of juice, right? But juice is also has a lot of sugar in it. Doesn't matter if it's natural or not, it still has sugar. So once we started down the functional medicine path with my health journey, I started to realize how much sugar I was actually consuming. And so I stopped the juice and I started drinking carbonated water because that was the only way that I could consume water without that fishy taste to it.
Yeah. And so even now.
And I still couldn't drink it out of a glass. It
Right.
had to be something, a different type of cup.
Yeah. And so she had to go through almost like an NLP type of rewiring to rewire her brain, because what was happening is she knew, like cognitively, intellectually, she knew that the water was clean and it wasn't fishy water, but subconsciously that link had been, that emotional belief had been, burned cemented into her subconscious. And our subconscious is what causes us to do what we do. And it's when we have conflicts with our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, and that's what paralyzes us. The whole reason why I became a doctor was through one of those events. I remember I was 6 years old. I went to my pediatrician, and my pediatrician didn't have the typical doctor's office. It almost looked like it was like his apartment or something. It was just open, it was light, and he had a refrigerator with a bunch of fruit and vegetables in it. And every time I went to my pediatrician, he gave me an apple, and I loved apples, right? And I don't remember ever getting shots. I don't remember ever getting going through anything that was painful. And he was just so nice and caring. And so instantly I said, you know what? This is what I want to do. And I wanted to be a pediatrician. Before I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And all of my life, that's what was ingrained in my head, because I wanted to make people feel healthy, cared for, loved, appreciated. I didn't know all these things as a 6-year-old, but that's the way he made me feel. And so that's the way that I wanted to make other people feel. So all my life, I'm studying. I'm telling everybody I'm going to be a pediatrician. Until I went away to college and I had the opportunity to actually work with a pediatrician. And when I worked with the pediatrician, all I did was hold kids down while they got their shots. And it was traumatic for me. And instantly now, the thought of being a pediatrician, I know it was more to that, and I know I could have my own practice where I didn't, do all of these things, but it ingrained that belief that I rather be around healthy kids. I didn't want to be around sick kids, right? And so now I had another belief. Well, now I'm already on this path of being a doctor. So then once I got into medical school, I had no idea of what I wanted to do. I just knew the feeling that I wanted to give people. I knew the feeling that I wanted. So imagine going to medical school, going through everything, and wanting to give people healthy type of feeling, and it didn't exist. Even in the doctors, even my mentors, it didn't exist. There was no hospital that I went to where people felt healthy, whether it was the doctors, whether it was the nurses, whether it was the patients, right? We were treating symptoms. And when my own dad got sick and we had to go through the health system, it was a big, huge eye opener. And so now the whole reason why I went into medicine was completely turned upside down, and then I felt lost. So that, I think that's what kind of cemented or planted the seed that kind of led me to the journey that I'm on now. But when you're around people where they are indoctrinated, and this is the belief system, and the whole medical system is set up where it's a privilege to even get into medical school. And then I was like, blessed to have gone to these like wonderful institutions, right? And then I was in Johns Hopkins, the epitome of like research and the smartest people there, right? And so they make you feel like this is a privilege for you to even be able to learn in this institution, and everything that they taught us we took as the gospel. So imagine that feeling, and then getting out of that just to find out that it wasn't true. A lot of it. Now, when people are dying and they're sick or they have broken legs and things of that nature, and we're trying to save lives and heal people in crisis mode, that's different, okay? I feel like we're good at that as far as allopathic medicine. But as far as the 90% of what kills people, what they were teaching us in medical school was all formulated around a curriculum that was formulated with an agenda. Even the research papers, it had an agenda. And for that to be unfolded, it was hard, right? So they praise us for getting good grades. They praise us from getting into medical school. When you get in a good medical school, they praise you. When you get in a good residency, they praise you. And then they pay you all of this money, right? Where you're addicted to the money because you spend, most doctors, they spend more than they make. Yeah. So now,
because it's also an expectation of a lifestyle that you're supposed to live and have.
You're supposed to have a big house. You're supposed to drive a certain car.
Now you're on a different plane as
lifted
everybody
up
else
on a pedestal.
Yeah.
So it keeps you stuck in the belief. Now, even if you have different beliefs and you're saying, because there's a lot of doctors, the reason why they're not happy is because they recognize this is not the path. They recognize if you poll a lot of doctors, they would not treat their family members the way that they treat their patients. They treat their patients because this is what we were trained to do. But when it comes to family, nah, you shouldn't do that. This is what you should do, right? And there's a lot of doctors that feel that way. So imagine having to work every single day in a system that you don't believe in, and that is causing you to work against your belief systems, but you can't escape because you've been indoctrinated. That's where what happened?
Sorry, it's my ADHD brain again. Indoctrinated. It has the word doctor in it.
Oh, well, look at that. That's where I was. And it was very hard to escape. It's very difficult because you're going against what society says is normal. It's very challenging because we want to believe our beliefs. We make up our beliefs based on what serves us. So if you are just addicted to pizza or cookies or candy. Right, my mom, for instance, right? She developed beliefs that allowed her to eat the things that she wanted to eat.
Right.
And we make up these beliefs to make ourselves feel more comfortable. So when you have to develop, or when you have other beliefs that lead you down to a path that's not comfortable, it's very difficult to stay true to that and to stay consistent to that. So anyway, I don't know what you all's beliefs are, but if you think about what beliefs you have that are contradictory to how you're actually living your life, whether it's with finances, whether it's with health or what have you, I feel like that's the
or how true they really are and where they came from.
Where they came from, because in order to understand how to break free of those, Because it's not good enough to intellectually just believe, oh, I believe I need to eat more vegetables. When, you know, your grandmother who cooked the best fried chicken or made the best apple pie or what have you, and you remember the smells and the love that you used to get and the family gatherings, right? That's your, you know, that's your core. It's in your subconscious, you know, belief system.
That's your association.
Right? And then now someone tells you that those things are bad, that's not comfortable, right? But when you understand the links that were associated with those beliefs, then now the goal is to associate new emotional links to those new belief systems, or else you're not going to act upon them. And I think that that's everything that I do, that I actually take action on. I have emotional links that are attached to those beliefs, and that is the reason why I'm able to take action.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. You're really good at that now.
Oh man. Anyway, how in the world? 21 minutes? Really? How did that happen?
Wow.
Oh,
Time flies.
Hopefully you all are still with us on this rant. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're tuning in live, whether you're watching this as a replay. But you know, shoot us some comments, because again, we're trying to remain consistent, and you all's input really helps with that. All righty. Love you all. Take care, and we'll talk to you next time. Not going to make any promises when next time is, but...
And hopefully it's not as cold.
Take care, everybody.